Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode. Today, we are here with Kevin as a good friend. It's one of the most resilient CISOs that I know. It's one of the most trained CISOs that I know that I think will influence a little bit on the conversation today on how to keep mentally resilient in the challenging field where we are. But without further ado, Kev, for the few folks that haven't heard you speaking about mental health, diversity and inclusion, and about how CISO can maintain their position. Tell us a little bit more about you and what keeps you so fit and resilient.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Kevin Fielder. I'm currently the Chief Security Officer for NatWest Boxed and Metal. You've probably seen some press things recently about us just starting a partnership with the AA, so we're all over the news at the moment. So yeah, I've been CISO. It's my third CISO gig. Prior to that, done far too many years than I want to admit to of security and technical work. I think it's over 20
It doesn't
years.
show.
And then, but yeah, I'm also, I had a bit of a troubled upbringing and it's some depression and stuff earlier in life and things. So I'm also quite an advocate for looking after yourself and mental health and well-being and looking after your teams and outside of work. When I find time between work and my family, I also do quite a bit of kind of training in gym and coach a few fighters. Strength and conditioning. I'm not. I used to do Thai boxing many years ago, but I'm far too old for that now. But I do quite a lot of strength and conditioning work with fighters as well, which keeps me fit and means I spend a lot of time in the gym trying to keep up with people who are like literally half my age. So yeah, keeps me busy, keeps me young. At some point the wheels will fall off, but I'm going to fight it for as long as possible.
Good. How much has that, and that's probably going to be the topic about the whole conversation, a CISO role, especially in startup or growing or scale up, have you been, is fairly challenging, it's mentally taxing. How do you keep your balance between family, boundaries, and how much has sport influenced that?
Yeah, so I think it's having hobbies that are different from work. I think it's cool. So I mean, firstly, I love what I do. Like even before I was working in security, I gravitated towards doing security stuff. So when I was doing more kind of project work and internal support work, I'd build firewalls and other things. I still remember kind of building Snort on Linux back in the day and that kind of stuff. So I did gravitate towards kind of security-ish stuff. So I've always enjoyed that and that aspect of you never stop learning. I love learning. I love new things. So a role where you have to keep learning, keep abreast of what's going on really kind of works with how my brain works and how I like doing things. So loving what you do does definitely help. And I'm really, I recognize how privileged I am to work in a job and an industry that I genuinely enjoy doing. I think having things that are different. So I think if you have hobbies that are different from what you do for work, that's a bit of an escape, right? So when I'm in the gym coaching people, it's entirely different from the office because I'm running around in the gym and throwing weights around and shouting and high-fiving and fist bumping and all the stereotypical gym bro stuff, right? But I get to be completely different. And then obviously when I've got my family and my kids, I'm different with them as well. So having other things that balance you out that can take you away from that and being able to park things, because one of the things about security that can make it quite stressful other than being busy is that it's not like a lot of jobs where you'll go home, especially a 9 to 5 job or whatever your hours are, you go home and that's it, you're done for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And come in tomorrow and it'll be the same as it was the day before, or the stuff you left there will be waiting for you when you come in, and it's all fairly relatively stable and consistent. When you're in security, especially in the operational side of things or leadership side, because it always escalates up to you at some point, anything can happen at any time, right? It's that you could be breached at 3 a.m. on a Sunday morning by some miscreant from somewhere, right? And it's those are things that mean that it can be very mentally taxing, because as well as being busy and stressful during the office hours, it's very easy to take that home with you and worry about what's going to happen and could I do more, and you're never done, right? You're never finished, you're never secure, you've never fixed everything, you've never got everything perfect. So there's always worries about what happens if someone finds something or does something or something goes wrong or whatever else. And that's where being able to kind of compartmentalize things and go, yes, it could happen, but I've got other things to deal with outside of work and things to keep me happy and things I enjoy doing. I mean, I'm not constantly worrying. So I think when you combine that with, obviously, a lot of people in security are engineering types and may overthink, and stereotyping here, but obviously speaking for myself as well, I'm quite a thinker and quite an overthinker. My mind doesn't stop. So if you look at my kind of LinkedIn CV and whatever else, I love having a couple of advisory roles as well as kind of doing my job. And I love spending time with my family, and I love coaching and things, because I've got to keep going. My mind just loves to work all the time. So if I don't keep occupied with things, it will overthink what could go wrong or what could happen. So if you're that kind of person who does overthink a bit and does get deep into things a little bit, it's even more important to find ways to kind of step yourself out of that. So it really helps with that. And I think the sport thing, the other thing sport gives you, or fitness and coaching and seeing that world, is you realize everyone's the same, and a lot of security problems are not unique to security, right? So we all love to think we're special flowers, but the reality is an awful lot of security problems are because people want the quickest way to do things. People want to take shortcuts, but not because they're malicious. They just want to find, what's the quickest way I can get my job done? What's the quickest way I can get the products out? What's the easiest way I can get access to this stuff, right? So if you make security difficult or challenging or slow people down, they'll go around it because they want the easiest way. Or as security practitioners, we'll see the shiny new thing and go, oh wow, look, that's a silver bullet that's going to fix my problems. I'll plug in this blinky box and whatever, right? And it's tempting to want that because we want the easy answer. And then when you're in health world, you see these complete charlatans all over social media with like, the one thing didn't know, everyone's been lying to you, here's the one thing that will give you abs, or the one thing that will get you this, or the 6-minute abs, or the magic pill. And it's all garbage. Literally the only way to be fit and healthy is to consistently do the work week after week. And it can be quite boring because it's consistently doing similar things over and over again. And it's same with security. The way to be awesome at security is to consistently be great at the basics. They're simple to say, but they're hard to do. And it's the same for both. So doing something else outside of security, that whether it's sport or whatever it happens to be, especially if it involves human nature and seeing how people work, makes you realize that an awful lot of our security problems aren't security problems. They're human problems. And I don't want to say people problems as in it's people aren't the problem. Human nature's the problem. Our desire to fix things easily, our desire for the silver bullet, our desire to be able to sit at home watching Netflix while eating a cake, yet also having abs and being an Adonis that's human nature. People want that. People all want, and it's natural. You want why wouldn't you? Humans, you're naturally designed to be lazy because we come from scarcity, which is what causes an awful lot of problems now. If you look at all of our evolution, things were scarce. So you want it to be as lazy as possible, because when you don't know how much food you've got, you don't want to be running around doing the hard things. You want to get to your food and sort out your family and have shelter as easily as possible. So by dint of evolution, we are naturally lazy, in inverted commas, because we come from a millions of years of scarcity, or hundreds of thousands of years, or whatever your beliefs in how long we've been around for, of scarcity. And then when you get to now, when it's like, especially in the Western world, it's like there's cake everywhere and there's food everywhere and there's all the choice of what's on TV
everywhere.
Too much. And it all plays into that scarcity. So you want more, and they design things. You're scrolling on socials and eating the donut and watching Netflix and whatever else. You've got so much choice and so much stuff that's so easy to consume that it plays into that desire to be lazy and consume. Because when you haven't got enough, you consume. You can bet back in the day, if we found some sweet food or a really fatty animal or whatever else and we caught it, we would eat all of it and we would devour it because we had scarcity. But now that is bad because you haven't got scarcity. So it's not. So understanding human nature and understanding that a lot of security problems come from human nature then enables you to go, well, how do we lean into that? How do we help people do the right thing in a way that's easy for them? How do we build the golden paths? And then that will segue nicely into DevSecOps and everything else, right? But how do we build those golden paths and the easy way of doing things so that it's actually easy to be safe and secure and people understand why they should be doing it? And I've kind of ran it up a little bit there, but yeah, it does.
I like
the second part.
I like how you brought it back from doom scrolling and eating the cake to actually doing the hard things, and then going back full circle on engineering and doing the basic right, doing the boring stuff right. Like one of the things that I totally subscribe and I agree with you, and one of the few CISO that I know is, hey, there is no silver bullet. Especially in engineering, is hard. It requires work and require conversation with devs, because fundamentally they are the repository of a lot of the information that as security professional we need to guide them. So that's my next follow-up question, is not a people problem, but a relationship problem. How do you entice engineers to talk to security folks?
So I think it's obviously be as approachable as possible. So ever since my first CISO role at Just Eat, I've kind of had what I call like a harassment index, for want of a better term. It's a really soft metric, but of looking at how often people come and ask my team stuff. So how willing are people to come and talk to you? How many times do people voluntarily come and talk to your team? Obviously you have SDLCs and even with DevSecOps, you've got kind of rules about what you've got to do, and threat models, and make sure your code repositories are registered with the code scanning capabilities and those kind of things, right? So certain things you have to do as part of the process. But in terms of when people need a bit of help with something, so we have you can raise queries with us we've got a sec hub, so you can raise requests. If it's a very short thing, you can do a Slack channel and just ask us quick questions. We have all these different ways of people contacting us, and it's how often do people do that? How willing are they to tell you things? How early do they engage you? Those kind of things. So I think making sure your team is really approachable and doing your best to make everyone understand that every interaction with your team is a leave someone with an opinion of your team. So trying to make all those touch points as excellent as possible and as positive as possible. Even if you can't always give people the answer they want, you can still give them a positive experience where you're engaged, you're trying to understand their problem, etc. The other one is understand the problem. So people quite often come to you, and it happens across all of engineering, right? But not just security. But people will come with a solution rather than a problem. They're like, we want to do X, and it's like, well, that sounds a bit risky. But then if you, rather than go, no, you can't do that, or that sounds a bit, that doesn't sound like something we should be doing, you can step back and go, what's the problem you're trying to solve? So they might come to you with some sort of convoluted way of sharing data with someone or whatever else, and that's a solution. And what is the actual problem? Well, we're trying to get this thing to that person. Okay, let's look at how we can do that as automatically and as efficiently as possible. Then you may even help them come up with a more elegant solution, because you step back to, let's understand the problem rather than let's review your solution. So I think that's a great one. And then the other one is alignment with the business. So what I've done with our team and the help of my team, who are awesome, is we've combined cloud security and AppSec into product security, because obviously that's much more aligned with the business. They're not, the product teams and the wider business don't really, the difference between AppSec and CloudSec and who do I talk to for this bit and that bit is a bit convoluted, and it makes it more challenging for them. But if you just go, right, this is the team that's responsible for ensuring we build and run secure product, and obviously you can name that whatever's relevant for your business. It's a much easier thing to understand, and they've got a one-stop shop to go to for all of their things. It's not like, we need to do an infrastructure pen test, so I'll go to that team, and we need an app pen test, so I talk to those people. It's there's one team of people that engage with our engineers and our product team to ensure what we build and run is secure, right? So by aligning that with the business better and using terminology, because we build products, we're an engineering product company, then by having that terminology, people understand it better, and it's more kind of in tune with the business and more aligned with the business. So build your team capabilities and how your team's designed to be aligned to your business. There's no point in you having your security silos because you think this is my perfect security design, and I need these people doing this thing and this team doing that and these people doing that, and then it doesn't align to how the business works. It's not going to get you anywhere. So I guess in short, be super approachable and engaging and as helpful as possible, and make every touch point as awesome as you can, even when it's not a straight yes. Understand the problem, not just the solution. So if the solution doesn't sound great, go back to what the problem is and try and help people design a really good solution, and then align your team to how your business works. So build your team structure and ways of working to align to how your business works. There's no point in being a waterfall-based security team in a super DevOps agile business, and vice versa. While you can still run in sprints, whatever else, there's no point in your team being super DevOps and whatever else and trying to force that on everyone else when they want to do a long planning and a traditional waterfall way of delivering projects, right? And neither answer is right or wrong. There's really successful companies doing both and stuff in the middle, but just align your team to how your company wants to work and how your company needs to work to succeed.
I really love the fact that you said we are a product company. We're not an AppSec company or a cloud security company. It's just one thing that, it's my pet peeve in a way. And with Phoenix, it's all that we subscribe. But as well, I like the fact that business understand product and what's the risk of the product, and can express opinion if you present, hey, we have a bunch of vulnerability in this particular area. They don't relate to it. And engineers just want one backlog of things to go and look and fix fundamentally. How hard was to build that relationship with the engineering team? I mean, you're lucky that you grow with the company and the security team actually was lucky enough. But if you had to do that in a new company, how would you structure it?
Well, I kind of touched on it. It would depend a bit on the company. So it's not an answer you can get. There's not a one size fits all. So if you go to a company, it is that.
Sorry, I was searching for
the
the silver bullet here.
yeah, there isn't one, I'm afraid. But there kind of is, but it's the silver bullet is the way of doing things as opposed to the how, right? So it's the or as opposed to the what, sorry. So it's the how. So it's you understand the company. So rather than going in, right, this is the team you need, and this is the way you're supposed to. I spoke to I'm not going to name the company, but I spoke to someone recently that I worked with a while back, and they said, someone had come into a company they were at and been like, this is my template for security, and this is how we're going to do it. And they were like, I couldn't work with them or respect them because they didn't want to understand the company first. And that's what you need to do. So it's understand the company, understand the culture, because some companies are much more directive. So you can go into company and be quite directive. This is how we do things. This is what you have to do. And we are a leadership down directive company. Other companies are much more, as you go towards the sort of DevOps agile into the world, much more how do we empower people and guardrails and whatever else. And it's much more of a persuasive and influencing kind of thing. So understand the kind of environment we're in, understand how they work. So are they, agilely DevOps? Are they fully waterfall? Are they somewhere in the middle? Are some projects a bit of both? Understand what the pain points are, understand the touch points. And if there's an existing SDLC, if they've already got an SDLC, plug into that. Don't build your own one because that's not going to work, right? So right. If they've got a process that works for this is their idea and this stuff comes out the other end, you might want to, you maybe I'll suggest some improvements, but there's a process that works. So how do I plug security into that process? We talked about human nature. If I come in and be, we need to change how you work, they're going to be like, yeah, no, mate.
Nah.
But if I come and go, okay, how do we integrate into how you work? So talk to us about, it's like I wouldn't want to dictate an IDE or a way of working. So they've got all these things already. So what capabilities, processes, and tools can I bring to bear to ensure that we help that existing process work really well? Obviously, if you're in a greenfield site and nothing's there when you're brand new, then it's great because you can all build it together. But that's very rare, right? That's only if you go and join a startup, and that's a whole different thing. But where there's stuff in place already, how do I plug into that? Then I can look at it and go, right, there's some gaps. And then you can talk to people about, okay, this is a great process, but I think we need an extra step here or an extra thing there to help us do this. How do we integrate that into your way of working? But you're all cognizant of how people do it. The other one is where you are looking to use tools, whether it's code scanning, third-party library scanning, dev training, whatever else. Where I can have that opportunity, I work with the engineers to select the tooling. So, I from a security standpoint, if scanner A gives me 97% efficacy and scanner B gives me about the same percentage efficacy, I don't care which one you use. They both work, right? So if there's a tool that works better with how they work or integrates better with their IDE, or they just prefer the interface, then let's use that one, because that's going to get much more engagement. And you've got two benefits. One, they feel involved because you said, hey, look, we need to integrate this capability into our SDLC that's not currently there. These are some options. Help me choose the option that works best for you. So they've been involved in the decision. You're not security company going, use this tool. You're security company going, we need to be able to do this, and this is why. Let's select a tool that works best for you. And that'll be, come down to automation. It could come down to how fast it works, whatever else, right? So get the engineers involved in choosing the tools and processes to get to the end goal, because the end goal is secure product, right?
Yeah.
And you only get that with the engineers who are building it being engaged and wanting to work with your team and your tools. Same with all the other processes around, whether it's threat modeling or design reviews or whatever else. Work with the engineering teams on how to do it. Do they want you guys to always lead them? Do you want you guys to train them and help them do them themselves? All those kind of things. The more you can empower people to be part of it, the more engaged they are, because people love to feel in control. It doesn't matter what you're doing, where in life. It's another human nature thing, right? I'm reading a book. Never Split the Difference. It's a negotiating book from a guy, I forget his name, was like a hostage negotiator and stuff, but he used to train FBI people and things on hostage negotiations. And one of the things they talk about is people want to feel empowered. So even when you're doing a hostage negotiation, you do things where they get to answer in what they want, or they get to say no to things, whatever else. So they feel like you guide them to the decision you want, but you do it in a way where they feel like they're making the choices, and they're able to control some of it. So it doesn't matter what the situation is. People like control. People like to feel like they are in control of their destiny a little bit, which is why you often find people in really menial jobs, even though they've got no stress because they're just coming in and doing X, Y, Z and they're told what to do, can be more stressed than people in jobs where they've got a lot of autonomy. Because when you lead teams and have autonomy, or you're in a role where you have that, you might feel like you've got more stress because there's going on, but you feel less stressed because you've got some autonomy around what you're doing. Whereas having no autonomy is really stressful in and of itself. So give people as much autonomy and engagement as possible.
And will that help with the mental health of the team?
Well, yeah, absolutely, right?
Because
Yeah, if you've got, when you feel,
I'm doing the full circle this time.
you are indeed. But yeah, I think, I'm not a mental health professional, but certainly if you are happier and less stressed and feel like you've got autonomy over what you're doing, you'll feel better about a thing, and you feel more empowered, and you feel more excited, and you want to be doing it. If you're turning up to work wanting to do it and feeling driven and feeling empowered and feeling trusted, that's a far better place to be in, even when you're busy. If you're mad busy and you feel not empowered and you haven't got any autonomy and you don't feel trusted and you don't feel like you can make decisions for yourself or choose the right solutions, that's going to compound, right? Whereas if you are coming to work and you don't actually get to agree the end goal. So what else in between? We agree what's the goals for the year, for example. You've got to deliver certain projects, whatever else. But then I leave them to it. So that's your goal, is do this. But you tell me how to get there. You tell me the best way to do it because you're the experts. And then they're empowered. They're bought in. They've agreed what the goal is with me or with their manager. And then they've chosen and they've come up with the plan and the solution. And it's like, we might twiddle a bit or challenge it a little bit to make sure it is the right one. But they own it. You've got that sense of ownership because it's your plan, it's your chosen solution, it's the one you've been engaged in, and
they drive
that's
it.
far less stressful. I think we've got a question as well, actually. So I was looking in the one about burnout.
So Tyler mentioned about burnout, and I think that's something that afflicts us a lot in the industry. So first of all, how do you recognize that in yourself as a leader or in your team? And then how do you deal with it?
Yeah, so there's I'll probably misload, so I apologize, but there's quite a lot of kind of known symptoms of burnout around people, being less engaged, feeling less engaged, not speaking up as much as they used to, not putting themselves forward as much as they used to, being more down, those kind of things. It's quite, again, not medical profession, so this is just my thoughts, but it's got quite a lot of overlap that may look like kind of being depressed and being down and whatever else, right? Because you are just that less forward, less whatever, so body language might be more withdrawn, you're less upbeat. So, and obviously it's all gradings, right? Because someone might be quite quiet in the team and they can't totally happy, they're just a quiet introverted person. So it's looking for the signs of changes in engagement, but not compared to someone else, compared to that person when they're feeling good. Because someone who's super outgoing may be really obvious when they're down because they're like suddenly not, whereas someone who's quite introverted and quiet, who prefers chatting over Messenger rather than being noisy in meetings, whatever else, may be harder to spot. So I think and there's that's where team culture plays a huge part, right? So it's having a culture where you look out for each other. So people feel like if Jim or Jane or whoever's is a bit more quiet or a bit less engaged than normal, they feel they can talk to you about it. Because one of the things that is a real struggle for people with all sorts of mental illnesses, I was quite depressed. It's a good few years ago now, but I suffered from depression for a little while, and you don't want to talk to anyone. You put on your happy face. I had all that when I was in it struggling. I had all the trappings. I had a pretty decent job. I had my M3, had a house in St Albans. It looked from the outside. I had a awesome little daughter and all that kind of stuff. So it looked great, but I was so miserable and so down. And I put on the happy face for everyone, and most people didn't know. So having a culture where you get to know each other and you look out for each other and you are a proper team really helps, because then when there are some subtle signs, people feel they can talk to their manager or talk to other people in their team. Oh, how's Jim doing? He doesn't seem quite as engaged as normal, and then you can pick up on it, hopefully earlier rather than later. And in terms of dealing with it, it's a lot of stuff we've spoken about, right? It's looking after yourself. So the better, one that an manager tried to use I guess preventing it as well as dealing with it. So in terms of kind of preventing it and managing it, is being a bit aware of yourself, so you can get there before it's a super issue. Because I think early on with any kind of these things, it's easy to talk about. It's like, I'm struggling a little bit. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in the dark place and it's like, I'm really struggling, then it's like, I don't want to talk to anyone about it. So spotting signs in yourself early can help. I kind of talk about my bucket, right? So you've got a bucket of what you can cope with. And we try and separate out work and personal and all these things, right? But you've got one bucket. So if work's stressful, and then even good stress, like you're moving house or you're getting married or you're having a baby, good things as well as like divorce and illness and whatever else, they're all stressors and they all take stuff out your bucket. So if you've got a lot going on in life, it can be harder to deal with work stress because your bucket's getting empty. But looking after yourself, so eating healthily. You don't have to love gym like I do, but just being active, getting your 8 or 10,000 steps in most days, doing a little bit of weights or gym whatever, eating as well as you can, trying to get sleep, which I struggle with because for some reason I'm great in the mornings and great in the evenings, and I have my afternoon lull. So fitting sleep in when you've got babies and stuff as well can be challenging. But yeah, trying to get enough rest. All of these things make that bucket bigger. So you can look after yourself by managing your stress, having downtime, doing things outside of work that stop you worrying about work to help that bucket be as big and full as possible. That's off the screen now. So that you've got more ability to deal with stress. And then the team culture and the empowerment and everything else also helps your team have, even if they're busy, maybe a bit less stress than they would do, or feeling better about managing that stress. And then when you spot it, it's trying to give people that downtime. So, I always say to my team, when it's, if someone's dealing with something outside of work, it's your family and health first, right? If you need some downtime, just let me know. If you're struggling, let me know, or whatever else, so we can help you manage that. If it's your duty to be on call, let's move that back a week or whatever else. So we really try and work with our teams on dealing with, especially when there's stress outside of work that's popped up on top of work. I've had people who want to keep working through stuff. It's like, if you want to work because that helps you mentally, so you're not sitting around worrying about something, that's fine. But if you need time, just let me know. So it's helping your team have that time, making people know they can ask for it. So that's why I talk openly about some of my struggles, not because it's like, oh, look at me, I'm fine now, I'm cracking now. So it's not asking for anything now, but it's because being open about stuff. I've probably gone on another point now, which is kind of be open about things. So I'm very open about the fact I do the school run some days. I'm very open about the fact I've had challenges in the past and should have got help much more. I had several years of struggle and made some really bad life decisions in relationships and stuff outside of work. It wasn't really visible to work, but because I wasn't getting help. So being able to speak up and get help, looking out for each other, trying to spot it early, having a team culture where that you can talk about it and you can take time out. So even I can't remember the example, someone gave the example, it's like, as a manager, maybe if there's been a bit of a heated debate, I think I did it in one of our team meetings actually, if there's been a bit of a heated debate and it's been a bit stressful, maybe just go, oh yeah, that's pretty full on, I feel like I could do the cup of tea now, just have a little break for a minute. And by you doing it, even if you don't need the break, because I'm quite groggy, right? So I probably don't, but by you saying that, or by you telling people that's okay, they then know they can do it. So if someone then is struggling another day, they could be like, oh yeah, Kev or whoever, I could do a little break, I've really struggled after that. And it's like, yeah, that's great, you're going to be fine now because you can ask for that help. So ensuring people know they can ask for it and looking out for each other, I think is super important.
And as a leader, as a follow-up question, as a leader,
yeah,
it's hard to talk about you and your stress to the team. Like, there is the culture of the iron leader, the one that needs to lead. So being vulnerable towards your team, admitting that you can be human as well, that's require a lot of courage. How did you muster up the courage to actually go there and be authentic, be transparent?
I don't know. I think it's easier when you're kind of in a good place, right? So, I fixed myself and got into a better place, and obviously being reasonably successful in my career. Again, it's easier, right? Because it's not like I've got I don't want people. I do worry a little bit even now. You talk about some of these things, and you do worry some companies, but oh well, that person has some challenges, we won't employ them. But I'm like, I wouldn't want to work there anyway. If you're the kind of company that's not going to employ someone because they've had a health challenge in their life, you're not somewhere I'm going to get on with. But you do worry, because you do worry that and the stigma, I guess, it's weird, because you can go oh, I broke my arm, or I had a heart attack, or whatever else, and people say, that's fine, get better, hope you're okay, what can we do to help? There's still a bit of a stigma around mental health, I think, because we don't understand it as well. But it's the same thing, right? If you've had a mental illness or a struggle and you're recovered, or you're going through recovery, that's the same as if you've got a physical illness, in terms of you go to the doctor, do your things, hopefully get better, crack on. And people don't have a stigma, so there shouldn't be a stigma around mental health. There should be the ability to be able to be open about it. So I think I just want to be able to help other people. I've got myself to a good place, but I recognize a lot of wasted years and things I'm still paying for, like literally paying for, from mistakes I made, that I don't want other people to go through that. I've come out the other end, I'm fine, but there's not. If you look at, especially men, I think I can't remember stats, but isn't suicide like the biggest killer of men aged 20 to 40 or something mad? So there's something wrong here. If people get to a point when they will literally take their own life and leave family and friends bereft and everything else rather than get help. And they've got to that point. So what's gone wrong? It's like, it's like having a massive cancer growing at your head and go, oh, I'll just crack on, it'll be fine, just don't need to deal with it, right? It's madness.
Isn't
So
that the main thing to do, though? It's like,
well, yeah, I guess,
crack on, soldier
as I
on.
said it, men, I do men don't like the doctor, right? But fundamentally, we need to be in a place where you can talk about it. And I think if I, as someone, I mean, I'm not like that amazing, but someone who is out there and vocal and physically in good shape, and I'm a strong person, and I can still be strong and successful and everything else and still have had struggles. Hopefully people realize it can happen to anyone, because I'm not, if I were, not that it matters who you are, but if I was kind of less outgoing and a bit more timid and not the gym person, it may not have the same impact. But I'm like, even someone who is at 50 still getting personal best in the gym, who is training genuine world champion fighters, who has a family and runs around and just on the go all the time, because I love being on the go. If I can have challenges, then anyone can, right? And there's no shame in that. So that's kind of why I think it's really important. And just if even one person from all the stuff I chat about gets some help or looks out for themselves or does something good for themselves, that's worthwhile, right? It makes it all worthwhile, because that's one person you've helped, one person you saved, and hopefully it's more, but even just one, I've done something good. So yeah,
Karma, right?
well, yes, but there's no benefit.
So there was a question.
Healthy.
Sorry.
Yeah.
There was a question as well on, I think, on one of the things that you were discussing about the bucket and kind of filling up the bucket and.
This was getting to the bottom of what people want. So this was, I think this was around when people come to you with a solution. So, and the solution can you'd be like, I'm not sure that's going to work. But rather than be like down on the solution, okay, that looks like it might be slightly outside of our risk appetite, or there may be something better we can do here. So can we just step back and what is it you're trying to achieve? And just ask some questions. So what's the business goal we're trying to get to? What's the outcome we're trying to achieve here? And talk to them about what they're trying to get to and how we can help them. And we'd really like to help you get to the best solution. But obviously what you're presenting is a bit of a solution, and what I'd love to understand is what problem we're trying to solve, so we can help make sure that this is the best solution for that, or maybe make some suggestions to solve it in different ways that might be more secure. And obviously if you can do a way that's end up with a solution that's more secure but also a bit slicker, or I'm quite lucky that my team, I also have our colleague tech services in my team as well as security, so we have automation engineers and other people. So it might be that I can actually bring to bear some skills from my team and say, actually, we might be able to help you automate that, or whatever else. So I can bring some expertise from my team to actually help come up with a better solution to the problem, rather than just going, how do we make it secure? So think with that business hat on of we're trying to solve problems. We've all got goals we're trying to get to. So you put yourself in that person's shoes. What is it we're trying to solve? What's the business benefit? What's the goal here? And then let me help you come to hopefully an even better solution than one we've got. Or it might be that when you understand the problem, the solution that they've come up with is actually the best one, and we have to just that's not saying that the solution's the wrong one. It's just, if it does look like it's got some risk, rather than just go straight to that's a no, or let's document a load of risks and accept the risks, let's understand the problem and then work out the best solution to that problem, help them work out the best solution to that problem. And then also, by understanding the problem, if it does turn out their solution is the best one, maybe it has to be a temporary one because there's no better way to do it quickly and it's urgent. But you can then understand, yes, that actually is the best solution, and this is a business problem that's then worth accepting that risk. Because if the solution has some risk and it's for a problem that isn't that important, you probably aren't going to get someone to accept the risk, right? But if it's solving an important business problem, it might be that it is valuable, it is worthwhile documenting and accepting some risk, maybe in the short term, while you come up with a better solution. But understanding the problem is always the place to start, I think, for anything, whether you're a product person or an engineer, whatever else. Rather than blindly implementing a solution, try and understand what you're trying to solve will help you make sure you're doing the best solution for that problem.
No, and that's absolutely great. And I think you bring up a point that is one of the terms that I love, that is called security engineering, that is basically not just doing security, but doing security in collaboration with engineering to together come towards a solution that could be two ways and two sides. But the security is not standalone, or engineering and not standalone, as you said. Product and security are together. And sometimes we have security people that come from GRC, that come from different backgrounds. They might not have that engineering kind of upbringing. So how do you deal with a team that is variegated, and sometimes you need to come up with a very technical solution?
So obviously, if you're in a place where you've only got non-technical people who need technical things, you probably need to adjust your team slightly, or augment your team with some skills. So part of building a team is making sure you've got the right team for your organization. So if you are in a very kind of stable, governance heavy, and you're kind of more, because you get stepping back slightly, security teams have multiple roles depending on the business. Some CISOs and security teams are very much more advisory, so will be more GRC and guidance focused. Some are much more embedded in how they do things and do all the kind of technical cloud, AppSec, whatever else, engineering stuff. So make sure you're building the right team and the right capabilities for your organization. If you're more of a kind of a 1.5 second, like for those who are not familiar, 3 lines of defense is kind of a finance thing where first line is doing, second line is risk, third line is audit. So if you're more of a 1.5 second line kind of CISO role and you're more in the kind of risk and oversight space, you are going to have a much heavier advisory GRC kind of team. If you're in the first line, you may well still have GRC capabilities, but you're going to be much more integrated with the business and engineering focused and building focused, which is where I like to play, because it's I feel that's where you're actually doing stuff and building stuff and making things better by doing rather than just kind of guiding. So there's nothing wrong with either, but that's my preference for the kind of roles I enjoy, which is actually make, I feel I make more of a difference by helping build really secure things and run secure things and monitor the environment and everything else. So I think, so I've kind of half answered your question by saying it's sort of the wrong question, which is you shouldn't be in that space in the first place. And if you are in that place in the first place, then you should probably be looking at how you augment your team with the skills you need to deliver what you need to. So if you've inherited a team that's super GRC and kind of process heavy, but you need to bring some engineering skills to bear, then you need to, but you also presumably you need those other people as well because they're already doing great work. You then need to go and go, okay, in order to deliver these things, I need to have these people come in, and it might be get some contractors in short term if you need the capability urgently, or some consultants, and then build out the team with those capabilities. So again, that goes back to that. When you join, understand what the requirements are of your team, understand what's needed for your role to make your company and product appropriately secure, and then build a justification for that. And if there's very clear demand for engineering, you should be able to build a business case for having some security engineering capability to help your engineering teams build excellent product, or help guide them to how to build excellent product, or run it securely, or whatever else you're doing as a business.
Or borrow devs.
Obviously, I mean, devs with the security hat make great AppSec people, right? So I don't want anyone in my AppSec team that doesn't have a decent understanding of code, because they're not going to be able to talk to engineers. So you need people to understand. You get the most respect as an engineer, as a security engineer, when you can talk to the people that you're working with in the language they understand. Again, it goes back to that understanding, right? So if you're talking to your risk and audit teams about kind of process and policy, having some GRC folk that are great at that kind of thing is probably going to help you kind of grease those wheels and have a better relationship with the oversight functions. If you are trying to work with a engineering team and product teams on how you build and run secure things, having some people who understand engineering and cloud and whatever else at a deep level will give you much better conversations, because they're going to know how to talk to them. So it's that kind of cultural piece, right? And make sure you've got the right skills to engage with the right bits of your business.
Brilliant. I think that's I really appreciate that, because it's like understanding really where you are, what kind of business you're running, what are the deficiency or things that needs to improve when you're joining, not kind of putting the blueprint. And I had a question from Michael that I think is powerful. So how do you show the vulnerability? Again, back in sometimes the workplace is not a safe space to show vulnerability, and you need to back to the Aaron leader. How do you allow that vulnerability to creep through, and without the fear and repercussion to be seen as weak, or to be seen as kind of non-effective? We can play it.
It's I think it's like I say, it's obviously easier when you're in a leadership position, because you're setting the tone, right? So I'm lucky that I get to I get to set that tone. So by me doing these kind of things and being vulnerable and being public about some of the family stuff I do and whatever else, I set the tone for everyone else that that's okay and they're okay to do that. So I think leaders should be leading in this very much so, because it can be much harder if you're in a team, especially a team that's let's get stuff done, let's go, and it might not be that open and that thing. It can be really scary, because what if I do reveal that and then I'm seen as a less good performer than the others, or more of a risk? So why would I promote that person because they've got some challenges, whereas Jim over here has had no challenges, so let's promote him because he's not, or she, or Jim or Jane. I should obviously include both, right? It could be anyone, but this person's had no challenges and they're great, so they're a safe bet because they're they haven't got any challenges. But anyone can have them, right? It's like it's the same as physical illness. You can literally live the perfect healthy life. You're stacking yours in your favor, but you can still get ill. You see it all the time. You see people who have done nothing but live well who die in their 20s, right? Which is sad. So people shouldn't think like that. People should realize anyone can have challenges, and the person who's open about it and getting them dealt with is probably going to be healthier long term than the person who's got them in the box somewhere waiting for them to explode. So but it can be hard. And I guess my only other advice on that really is find a company where you feel that you can. I know it's easier said than done, but if you're a company that doesn't allow people to talk about their challenges and doesn't support them, you're a pretty rubbish company, I'll be honest. I'll keep it PG language wise, but fundamentally, companies need to realize to get the best out of their people. And I always kind of say this, even if you're really selfish, right, you get the best out of your people by treating them well. So even if you're a purely selfish person with zero altruism in your body and you just want to whip your employees to get the most out of them, obviously we're not allowed to do that. So you're not going to, but your culture will not be great, and you won't get the best out of people if they're not treated well. So by treating people well, by empowering them, by enabling them to talk, by enabling them to look after themselves, you get far more from them. Again, so I've had really proud moments for me in teams is when there's an incident out of hours and you see people jumping on to help who aren't on call because they're part of the team and they've seen some of their team members struggling and they're like, yes, I want to help. How can we get stuck in, get stuff resolved? How do we swarm when
they see themselves as part of the mission?
Yeah. So that's the culture that gets the most done. That's the culture where you get the most success. That's the culture where you get people that will go the extra mile. So being totally selfish, if your people feel empowered, feel on board, feel listened to, and you've got a crunch time at the end of a project, or there's an incident and it's going to be working 24/7 for a few days to get resolved, obviously you can't do that forever. People will do that willingly when they're part of that mission. So as a company, anyone who's listening that runs companies, build a culture where people are empowered, build a culture where people are listened to, build a culture that's open and people can talk and get help, because they will do far more for you than when you have a culture that's rubbish and people will be turning up to do the minimum to keep their job. So so Michael, I kind of haven't answered your question fully because there isn't a full, there isn't a one answer, but fundamentally you should feel you can speak out about things. Maybe start with someone you trust in your team. So if someone, even if you're in a culture that's not awesome, there may be some people in your team you're closer to than others. So you could talk to them about it and say, hey, I'm struggling this a bit. How do you think I should go about it, and get some advice within your company's culture about how to best deal with it. But generally speaking, you want to be in a company that treats you well, and you want to be in a company that respects you. I'm really lucky that where I am now is absolutely amazing. We treat our people so well. I can't recommend. I'm not actually hiring at the moment. I can't recommend it. There's a couple of roles being opened in Poland, and there's be some more roles later in the year, I think. But it's very much. And I love our culture, and I love how we look after people. And find a great manager, because the other thing I've learned from leading teams is you can build microcosms. So even in a company where the culture isn't great, let's be realistic. Most people outside your team don't know what your team's doing every day. So there's all these rules and whatever else, but they don't, right? So you can build a microcosm where you can build it might not be perfect, but you can build a more and better culture within your team than is the rest of the organization. So even if the organization might struggle, if you find yourself a great leader and a great team, you can still do well and still feel you can talk.
Or my 5 cents on this, find a peer in the same company, or a mentor, or somebody else that have been through this journey. I think as men it's hard to actually reach out to, not necessarily a friend, but people that are in the same industry, because I found that if I talk about something like this to somebody that doesn't have the context and the pressure, it's difficult. But if you find a peer where we can bounce off things, we've done with each other. So we've gone through some tough stuff, and we've done it with each other. And I think that's something that I really appreciate about you, and in general about leaders and people that I can interact with on sometimes feeling authorized to talk, maybe not in the same company, but outside, it gives you then more space to actually share. And I think being safe to share is sometimes challenging in a company.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some good stuff in the chat.
Yeah, I'm struggling to choose.
Philip asked about curiosity. What did you mean?
Yeah,
Was that what? Yeah, I can't remember what we talked about at the time, but I'm just hugely curious, so I'm always asking questions. And I think for anyone who wants to be successful in engineering or security, whatever else, being curious and wanting to know more will really help you when it comes to asking people as well. But just be intrigued. Be obviously be what's the word, authentic. So don't be like, oh, I want to be really interested in your stamp collecting when you don't really want to be interested in the stamp collecting. Not there's anything wrong with stamp collecting, it's just something I have no interest in. But generally, if you want to integrate with your business and you want to be part of what's going on, be curious, find out what people are struggling with. I mean, that's one of the great ways you can find out. That's the kind of, the 30, 60, 90 days or whatever, that kind of stuff as well. Genuinely find out what people's struggles are. So not just security, what are the biggest challenges we're facing? What are the biggest challenges the business is facing? So it's just understand those things. Talk to people outside of your team. How can we help you? What are the biggest challenge? What are the things that you struggle with? What are the things your team's struggling with? And you can add value, especially as I touched on. If you've got engineers and other people in your team, you might be able to add value by fixing a non-security issue or helping someone with something that's not security, just because you can. So do that. Get out there, understand people, be naturally curious if you are about what they're up to, what their problems are, what they're struggling with. And they'll want to talk to you because people love to talk, right? People love to talk, and especially if it's about them. So how are you doing? What are your biggest goals? What are the biggest challenges for your team this year? People want to talk to you about that, and then you can find out about it and you build that rapport because you're not just sitting there going, yes, security. You're actually engaged, and how can we work with you and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it's genuinely important.
I think you nailed it.
Yeah.
Well done.
And
there was another one from
Tyler's been on a roll. Yeah.
Yes. So I think he was saying he has a small team and is struggling to limit his hiring.
Yeah, it can be really hard. And the smaller your team, and that's what one of the things to talk about when you think about hiring and stuff as well. It's like people all talk about, oh yeah, you want to make sure you hire junior people and whatever else. With the small team, you've got to have people who are all good, right? So as your team grows, you can have more depth. But I think one of the struggles with security hiring isn't that there's not enough people in the whole industry. It's that there's a lot of people with really small teams, and when you have a small team, I can't afford to have a grad and an apprentice and whatever else because I've got no one to help them, and I got to have everyone delivering. So small teams by intrinsically have to be all experts and all great at what they're doing if you want to succeed. But yeah, so I think get good at saying no. So you've got X capacity to do things. So within X capacity, what are the highest impact things you can do with that capacity? And then outside of that, be like, I can't do more. So you need to be, and that can, it's a bit like when you get people to sign their name on a risk acceptance. A lot of people will let something carry on because it's not their issue and they haven't. But if it's like, that's fine, we can carry on doing this, but you have to put your name on accepting this risk. Suddenly crystallizes, like, oh, I'm not sure I want to accept that. So then you get obviously some, all business carry risk, so it's not that risk acceptance is inherently a problem, but by having a proper process where someone has to sign their name to say I accept this. So same with that, Tyler, or whoever's got a smaller team as well. If you've got more things to do, which we all do, I don't think anyone's got enough people to do all of the things, right? So be clear on, these are what we're doing this year. We're going to deliver these projects and we're going to support this work as we obviously have to because we support the business. Here's a whole bunch of other things we should be doing, but we're not doing it because we haven't got the resource or budget. If we think they're important enough to do, then let's move them in. But then he's done a formal thing that said, a bit of a kind of not doing. So the not doing list, I like to call it. So here's all the things, and it might be that, say, for example, you haven't got DLP and you haven't got EDR. And it's like, well, this year we can do EDR, but we can't do DLP because of budget. So you just go, right, this year we're rolling out EDR to all of our endpoints, but we're not doing any data security or data leakage prevention tooling or capable processes because we haven't got the resource or budget to do it. So we carry a risk for another 12 to 18 months of not having that capability in place. And that's fine. That's right or wrong because businesses can't do everything. But then you've crystallized that and you've been clear about what you will do and what you won't. It doesn't magically get rid of the stress, but it does make it very clear to your business, I'm not going to fix everything this year. And you are going to carry these risks for longer because we haven't got the budget or resource to do it. And it's not like, I'm going to throw my toys out and proud and not do it. It's just being clear about what you can and can't deliver. And that way, yeah, you'll still be super busy. Let's not pretend you won't be, but you can at least be much more clear on what you are and aren't doing, so your team doesn't feel like, hey, we've got to fix everything. I like to use the phrase,
focused.
Do less, deliver more, be focused, right? So I say, yeah, even with a bigger team, I'd rather we worked on less things, and then by the end of the year we've done them, or we've got them to phase 1 complete. So if you go, hey, we're busy, and at the end of the year, like, we've worked on 50 things but none are finished, you've probably done 0 to improve your risk posture of your business. Say we worked on 3 things and they're all done and they're all implemented and they're all running and they're all working, you've made a material difference to your organization's risk posture, even though you've done less.
Next.
Yeah, so yeah, that's my advice, is be really clear about what you can and can't do, and document what you're not doing. So have a not doing list, and then you can agree with your exco or your CIO or whoever needs to agree it, that we're carrying those risks, and maybe get them documented as a formal risk as well. So here's all the risks we're not fixing because we haven't got the time or budget to do it. And then your business either accepts those risks and it's not on you anymore because someone else is accepting them, or they don't accept them and you get the budget and people to fix them. So either way, you and your team are better off.
Frame it. We have a few minutes left for the close, and I want to make sure that everybody follow Kev. You write, you talk, you do in the short time that you have, you do a lot of stuff. So where can people follow you or do stuff with you, or see what you're up to?
Work-wise is LinkedIn. Obviously, I'm Kevin Fielder. I think fairly easy to find. So yeah, Kevin Fielder, C7 NatWest, Box and Metal. So yeah, if you want to look at work stuff, LinkedIn's the place to go. If you want to see me doing stupid stuff in the gym with people, I'm Kevlar Strength on Instagram, but that's very not work related. So it's entirely up to you. But yeah, it'd be great to catch up with people, and feel free to give me a follow or a connection on LinkedIn.
Brilliant. Let me post the LinkedIn here for the folks that are not on LinkedIn. Kev, thank you so much. As always, raw, authentic, great leader. It's always a great conversation.
Yeah, Philip, thank you. It was actually a friend of mine used to call me Kevlar, just that I was training, a gym friend, obviously. So I kind of have a little side thing it's not growing because I haven't got time, but my coaching thing is called Kevlar Strength, and a friend of mine did a nice kettlebell logo for it and everything. What's my bench?
And we have a challenging question.
My bench press is I did, it's about 125, 130. It's probably about 120 at the moment. I did manage this week to do trap bar deadlift 250 kilos for 5. So that was a recent win. So I'll take that at 50.
Well done.
But no, thank you.
Thank you so much for being authentic.
Really appreciate the questions and engagement as well. These things are much better when people ask questions and talk. So really appreciate that, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much, folks. Stay safe out there. Talk to you folks, and find yourself a peer like Kevin where you can talk to. Kev, thank you so much. Cheers.